I'm on fire.
What's going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass podcast with me, Suri, and this is Sham, and today we'll be reviewing the weekend's games. But just before that, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're a small, growing channel, and we love talking football. So before we start, I just want to say United are back in the title race. Come May, we will be seeing a vaccine for United's woes, I think. We'll start with that game, I think. Lots of talking points after that game as well with Cavani. I guess we'll start with the game. I like to talk about the first half first. I didn't think United played that bad. I thought they made one or two stupid errors, but they played the game quite well. They kept the ball well. They missed a few chances. Greenwood, Rashford, and Cavani coming on, obviously doing the business. And if you saw his first goal, for me, that little dink he does just shows that experience. That's like a Wan-Bissaka or even a Rashford might have just gone for the whip across the far post.
Are you
But he knew
talking about his
exactly what he was
pass to
doing.
Bruno for the first goal?
Yeah, the first goal, yeah. It just shows that bit of experience. If you see the second goal, third goal, predatory instinct, assist from Rashford and Bruno. Every time this happens to United fans, we go fucking nuts for the last kind of 2 or 3 years. These kind of the Ollie, the falls done. It happened under Mourinho, it happened under Van Gaal. I don't think there was anything different about this. I think this could be a false dawn. But I will say that having someone like Cavani is like having someone like Zlatan, where you're coming not necessarily as a world-class striker, but as a made man. As an Italian mob would say, made man. He's come in, people see him in the dressing room, he probably keeps to himself, he does his business, does his routines, and I think there's only positives that can come out of having Cavani in the team. Anyway, yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think that United deserve to be 2-0 down. I think they were 2-0 down from 2 set pieces. They generally controlled the game and played it the way that they wanted to play. They set up to beat Southampton's press. And I think with Fred and Van der Beek and Bruno and Matic they all played quite well. Fred was probably standout for me. He's not a player who's going to grab a lot of attention, but he does his job every week. I think they did well. I think what they lacked was what Cavani was bringing was the sort of wide-ranging runs across. If you got the 2 centre-backs, you're sort of making these looping runs across. And when you look at the Champions League game midweek, United played against Başakşehir, Rashford went out on the right wing and he created a lot of width without necessarily doing a lot. But when you look at Greenwood, Bruno and Rashford, they all sort of drifted a bit left of centre in the first half. Cavani brought that width, and then the runs that he kept unsettling the defenders with his momentum. And like you said, just the United team is quite a young team. I think the only player who plays over 30 are Mata and De Gea that are over 30 years old. So to have an old pro there, Cavani's not a big personality. Like you said, he strikes me as a bit of a loner in the change room, but he's played for Uruguay, he's played for PSG, he's played for some big clubs, and he's had notable success at international and club level. So to have him there, he was brought in to provide something different, but he might actually provide something a bit more than that. Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood are really good forwards, but Cavani's a striker, and there's a difference between a forward and a striker. And I think that's just having that option for United made all the difference.
To that point, what do you think of before that, Fred was, for me, I thought he was faultless, besides the fact that he gave that free kick away. Silly. Ward-Prowse. I think Ward-Prowse has the most free kicks in the Premier League ever. I could be wrong.
He's got the most for Southampton. I know that.
Either that or he has the best. He has the best, either most amount of free kicks ever or the best free kick to game ratio. Something like that.
He's got 9 direct free kicks for Southampton.
Absolutely.
And when he got 2 against Aston Villa and he beat Matt Letizier's record, and any Southampton record held by Matt Letizier is not to be sniffed at. But he's got it's quite a Beckham-esque free kick. He's very good, and he said his corner he got the assist for the corner as well. So he knows what he's doing.
He puts a lot of the way he kicks it. He lands on his striking foot, but the way you would if you were hitting a low-powered free kick. So but he whips it so much that does that make sense? It's like when you see AFL, they always say land on the foot you kick on, but he puts so much whip on it that he lands back on his right foot, and it's brilliant. But sorry, just back to the formation. I think
you're right. It's sorry, go on.
I think United, if they're with transition and all that kind of nonsense, but I think that the players that United have now are very adaptable to play 2 or 3 formations. people talk about what's Ollie's best formation. I think Ollie's best formation, and sorry to say, at this moment in time, is just no Pogba. He's not a bad player. He's not even a virus to the team, but his style of play doesn't help the team.
And
He could go to Madrid and could win a Ballon d'Or. I will say that he's a fantastic player, but I think the team now relies on 8 to 9, 10, 11, absolute hard work team, like just in the sense of like a Liverpool kind of thing where they rely on 11 team players. And I don't think United have room for these kind of egos at the minute. Jesse Lingard doesn't play anymore, doesn't even sniff the bench.
He's not on the same wavelength as a lot of those guys, Pogba. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's at the minute. Look, if he changes mentality, and I hope he does, because he's someone who could go in who has won the World Cup. Excuse me. What did you think of the diamond? And do you think that's, or do you think there's any room for a player like Sancho or a winger to come in?
I'm not a fan of a diamond for diamond's sake. I don't like teams without width. That's just me. I think diamonds work when there's a specific purpose behind them, which is clearly why Ollie went to that formation against Southampton, because he wanted the top front with Bruno and the ability to thread to them.
Yep.
I would rather a 5-3-2 over a diamond, but I think diamonds can work in certain circumstances, but I just think that you make them for a purpose rather than making it your default formation. And Ollie seems to prefer the 4-2-3-1. That seems to be his default formation. And he goes to the 5-3-2 or the 4 with the diamond when he needs to.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about what you just said there. So if you look at Rashi, Bruno, Donny, not so much Greenwood, I guess. There is definitely more of a left-sided emphasis at United, and I don't know.
Greenwood
I think
was higher because Cavani simply occupies Greenwood's spot, but about where Rashford is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So if you move Greenwood in line with Rashford on the vertical plane, that's about where Cavani is. And it just gives that balance, and you can see there from Bissaka to Greenwood to Fernandes, there's so much space on that right flank.
Yeah, and I thought to Southampton's credit, they didn't play bad, but I thought their midfield pressing is incredible for a team that a year ago, let's say, lost 9-0, 8-0 to Leicester. All over the place. Che Adams and Walcott for me have made them to European contenders, and Hanselhout or whatever, however you pronounce his name. That's what I thought. I thought the game was overall a good game. What do you remember? What we predicted?
You picked 3-1 with some late goals.
I thought I would have.
And I picked it was either 1 or 2. I didn't quite think United had what it took to get the win, so I was wrong on that regard.
Okay. Well, the game was great. There's a good feeling about it, but I think we got to talk a little bit about Cavani after the on Instagram. So the exact story is he regrammed. Now, Sham, I know you're not on Instagram, but I know you're not active on Instagram. I know you're not active, but he regrammed, meaning to say someone else put up something about, Asite Cuero Matador, meaning obviously his nickname. I don't know what that means.
I believe that Cavani knows this person as well, like as a friend.
Yeah, it is his friend. It's his friend, right? So his friend had said, like, congratulations, Matador, that kind of thing. And he's come back saying, gracias, Negrito. Now, we've heard the word Negrito before, famously was with what Suarez called Evra. Yeah. You could argue that Evra saying it to his face is a very different thing to him saying it to his friend. I've gone on Reddit and I've gone on Instagram just a little bit, and this word Negrito in Uruguay, Mexico, and Latin America is a very different thing to what it means in the Western world. And I think that's a bit short-sighted by a lot of people to jump on him.
What
I think you feel the same.
Because I'm very interested in that. How is it used? Yeah.
It's apparently in Mexico and Uruguay, especially those two countries, apparently, I'd say probably Argentina as well. You call even your white friends Negrito, saying like little black man is that's what it would directly translate to in English. But we speak, or at least we understand. I myself, I speak a few languages. You understand at least Indian languages to a certain degree, and the English translation doesn't have the same context or the same
Mm.
value that that it translates to. So I think to get 3-match ban out of this would be just horrific. I think it would leave a bad taste in Cavani's mouth. I think it would leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. This
Yeah.
I'll just gotta remove this actually. It'll kind of leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and I think you'd be in the same boat as a lot of people watching and going, context means so much, and this guy doesn't even speak English, man. I promise you, he doesn't speak English.
We spoke about this in our other podcast on the international break about racism and about how context and intent is very important. So, like, I suppose there's a few things that blur the lines here. The first one is that Cavani's Uruguay teammate, Suarez, used this word and copped an 8-match ban for using this word. And it would be foolish to assume Cavani was not aware of that. Probably not at the time that he typed it. But he would be obviously aware Suarez copped an 8-match ban at Liverpool. Also, there was the incident last season. I think it was it Bernardo Silva and Mendy at Man City? I think it was this. So I could be wrong, but
sorry, Bernardo Silva, not David Silva. Yeah, no, you're right. You are
David Silva got the 1-match ban for likening Mendy to like a character on a back of a cereal or something like that.
Yeah.
So the reality for me is that there's no doubt in my mind that this is not racially motivated. It sounds like something you say to friends, like even like in America when they use the N-word, like African Americans say to each other, and it has a colloquial meaning to it. Denzel Washington famously says it a lot in a movie he won the Oscar for. So like there's no doubt in my mind that it's not racist. Now the problem is it's up to the FA and what the FA decide to do for it. The fact that it's not to another player, like the Suarez incident and the Silva incident were to other players. Whether it's
John Terry, don't forget John Terry.
John Terry as well. So I actually think he will get a ban for it. I think it might just be 1 match. I do think that precedent is there. It's unfortunate because he doesn't deserve it, but the FA tends to give people punishments that they don't deserve.
They do.
Yeah, it's a bit of it's just a reminder to everybody. Don't just be careful, And Cavani, obviously, like to me, he's used that in a very matey sense, to use the Australian term. But he's a football player playing in the EPL, and when you have a social media account, you're under the jurisdiction of the EPL.
Yeah, that's a fair view. I don't particularly.
I don't agree with it, but I think that's.
Yeah, no, I know you don't. I know it's not your view, but I don't agree with that view. It's so unfortunate, man. It is. It just kind of coming
on what was an incredible individual performance for him.
Yeah.
There's probably not a lot of games in his career where he's done that, and he's done that, in a big game that the club needed. We talked about this game potentially shaping United's season. They're now up where Southampton is. They win their game in hand. They equal 4th. Like it's a big win. So it's unfortunate it's happened at this time. But Cavani's a warrior, man.
He'll come back
and come back and be better than ever.
He could have used so many other words: classy, athletic, shiny. No, but he is. I do tend to kind of lean towards he's a grown man who saw what Suarez went through. Now would be about 9 years ago.
He was a strike partner with Suarez. It wasn't like they were.
They're friends.
They played up front together. They were friends. Cavani's very much. He's always been a team man. He'll know what's going on with his teammates.
No, you are right from that perspective. I don't think there's actually no intentionality in that, but there was a lapse in judgment, and I guess everyone there are consequences to lapse in judgment. So look, he's not definitely a racist, and we'll kind of move on from this, but. Great performance from the weekend. Great performance for United. Puts them. Let's just get this up for a little share screen action. So puts them 3 points off. Well, they take over 4th place if they do. They? Yeah, they do. They go into 4th.
They'll be on a hypothetical. 4th, but on a hypothetical goal difference. Yeah.
But they're the 6-1 loss to Spurs is just kind of looming over them still. They're just trying to get out of that.
Starting to take shape a bit. We talked a bit about the ladder taking shape. If United and City win their games in hand, the top 5 is basically 5 of the top 6 teams that we traditionally talk about. So
absolutely, yeah.
The ladders, like for all of the hustle and bluster by teams early in the season, you have those top teams in the top 5. You got Leicester 6th, Wolverhampton there, Leicester there, Villa there. Starting to look a little familiar again.
Yeah, it's just everything's just kind of moving. And just on form there, I just want to kind of highlight that United are not the worst form, second best form of the last 6 games. Decent. We'll call it decent. I won't myself get too carried away, but it's nice to
That's
see.
is that three consecutive? Is that three
Yeah,
consecutive?
three of the wins there. That was
Yeah,
the
okay, so
Arsenal
that's in
loss.
order from
I believe that was a
right.
Chelsea draw.
The
Well,
Arsenal loss and
speaking
the
of
Chelsea
speaking
draw.
of Chelsea, we'll move on now to what was meant to be the game of the round. Turned out to be, in moments exciting, in moments just absolutely dreadful. If you look at the stats here, just the basic stats, not the expected goals. It was a good try. It was a good effort by Chelsea. They got an early goal, but from Werner, but it was ruled offside. Very, very good finish. If you go look back at it, it was a through ball on the left side, a very acute angle. He went and he put it into the far post. It was incredible. He's an incredible player, to be fair.
Mm.
So, what did you think about this? Opens things up in a massive way. I think we all expected Spurs to win this game. I think you did as well, right?
No, I picked a draw.
You picked the draw. Nice. All right, fair enough.
I didn't think either. I actually kind of picked it in the sense that I didn't think either team had what it took to create that big moment, and there was no individual error. So
Yeah,
if it's Mourinho sees draws and big games as wins because he knows he'll win all the small games. He backs himself to win all the small games, and he'll take a 0-0 draw, particularly away to Chelsea. He'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, if you look at just average positions here, Mourinho was 100% sitting deep. And if you look at Harry Kane, I can guarantee that wasn't his average position. I think his average position would have been a bit more here. So he looked set up to take the point. And I like that perspective. I never actually thought of it that way, but he does back himself to win the small ones, the Burnleys and the Sheffield games.
They had 7 in the line at the time. So they had the 4 at the back. The 2 wingers came back. They had the centre midfields kind of dropped in between the centre backs and the full backs, like with the defensive midfielder. Like they were massively playing for that draw at times. Son was at the defensive corner flag doing work. It was a very defensive performance, but he can get teams to, he gets teams to be proud of that. Whereas traditionally, we've all played games that we know the other team's better and he's set up to defend, and it can be a bit dispiriting. But Mourinho teams seem to love the challenge of playing defensively.
I was watching the kickoff, the True Geordie kickoff, that I've sent you before, and there's a guy from there. His name's Rory Jennings, and he was talking about an interview that Lampard did. I like to reference. No, he's a Chelsea fan. No, I'm not the biggest fan of Liverpool fan myself. He talks about an interview which I've not seen. I've tried to look for it. I just can't seem to find it. But he says Lampard talks about Mourinho's mentality, and he makes every player somehow he either buy into Mourinho's philosophy or you don't. People like a Mkhitaryan, I can't think of players now. Just there are some players just don't buy into it because he's that father who's gonna buy you a Ferrari but give you a slap in the face once in a while. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So you've got to buy into it very quickly and understand that the overall
Luke Shaw
net outcome is positive. Luke Shaw as well, exactly. Anyway, so he said Mourinho has this very subtle, unique way of making everyone believe that they are selfish for themselves, but somehow intrinsically linking their selfishness into a team effort. So when they're running back to the corner flag, doing a 70-yard fucking run to tackle the left wing on the corner flag, is because they believe that's in their best interest, and it just so happens to be in the team's best interest. That's how Lampard kind of described it. I don't put anything past Mourinho. I think he's well and truly back in terms of his kind of mojo is back. Where do you think this puts? Do you think this is kind of consequential in any sense? And who do you think are the winners out of that game?
I think Tottenham were the winners. Chelsea looked a lot like the game, like the big bad wolf of the brick house. They just couldn't blow it down. They would have been disappointed not to get that goal to win the game. Whereas Tottenham clearly got what they wanted out of that game. They would have taken 0-0, and if they nicked it 1-0, all the better. But yeah, I think Tottenham would be happier. But you wouldn't be too disappointed if you were Chelsea. You're in the mix still. You haven't given anything away. If this game happened in April and they're trying to win the title, you'd be a bit annoyed. But it's late November. You live with it.
Yeah, and just
and you're 2 points off.
excuse me. If you just kind of, I'm just going to go through Tottenham's next few fixtures. They got a very hard run, but I think this is the toughest, and I mean that with Liverpool included. They have the next few. I'll just talk about the next few games domestically. Arsenal's all Premier League games: Arsenal, Palace, Liverpool, Leicester, Stoke, Wolves. Tough enough run. I think this was the
I
toughest
think
game.
they've got United and Liverpool in a bit after that as well.
No, we've already played Spurs. How could we have them again?
Doesn't come back. No, maybe
No,
I
it
got that
comes
wrong.
back,
But I
but
think they play.
no,
I think they play Liverpool
we,
twice in a short frame of time.
United play them in April, so we have a while to recover from the post-traumatic stress. Let me see. I don't see. Yeah, they
I
play
might have got
Liverpool
the
on the
United thing
16th.
wrong, but I know they're playing Liverpool.
Yeah, they play.
twice.
So they play Liverpool in a month. Within a month, they play Liverpool twice. Yeah.
And they've got the
I've lots to
backlog
say
of
about. I've
fixtures
lots to
from.
say about Liverpool, Sham. I've lots to say about Liverpool.
Let's move on to Liverpool.
Any closing thoughts on the Chelsea game?
No, I think it was Mourinho got what he wanted. Lampard will take it. It's a shame that a game that we thought would
rock the world
ended up being probably the most boring from an excitement perspective. It was interesting the first 10 minutes. The game looked really high tempo. The next morning when I went to just look at the highlights on YouTube, I actually went to check the speed on my player because I thought the game was being played on my screen at like 1.5. Like the first 10 minutes, the tempo was really high, and then it just died down, and then it turned into like a proper stalemate.
Yeah. My closing thought there was I think it's a shame that Harry Kane didn't do more than he could have, but that could be a team
What do you
plan.
mean?
Yeah, just
From an attacking perspective.
Yeah, I mean he's a game changer. These are the guy. Him and Son could have done. I wouldn't say could have done a bit more, but I was expecting, I guess, a moment from them to finish the game off. I think Harry Kane's the best attacking player in the league right now. All round, one of the best all round players in the world. I probably can play anywhere except for I even put him in centre back if there was an emergency.
Like
he's that
top
intelligent.
5 players in the league, he's definitely there, and probably top 3.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, we'll move on to huge talking points of the weekend in Liverpool and Brighton. Now, 1-1, a fair result. I thought Brighton played quite well, but if there was a winner, it also wouldn't have been terribly unfair. Let me just try and find this game.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if the penalty had not been given and Liverpool got a 1-0 win, you'd say, oh well, fair enough,
Yeah.
But it's also with the 1-0 draw. Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. 1 second. So the Liverpool just seem, and there are many reasons, and I don't want to get into it because I think it'd be a bit unfair to kind of shoot accusations, but there are many reasons why there are people now saying that Liverpool are breaking down. We'll just kind of come from the angle of COVID, and the players seem to not be able to take it anymore. These kind of injuries are coming up a bit more than usual, hamstrings, and you take away, I mean, you can even include to some sense Thiago in that because he did play at that level with Bayern Munich. He was playing that high tempo, 60 games a year with Bayern Munich.
We knew he was an injury-prone player, Thiago.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see who's, and in my opinion as well, you see who's not suffering that. Who's their best performing player right now is Diego Jota, who's not from that kind of high tempo, crazy press, and he's playing the best. He's
maybe his legs are a little bit better from playing less football.
That's what I'm saying. Because
he wasn't. I don't think he was a guaranteed starter at Wolves with Jimenez around.
No, right? He wasn't. And you can see the difference between the 10 to 13 players in Liverpool who kind of breaking down now a little bit versus a Diego Jota or even a Nathaniel Williams, for example. What's his name? Nathaniel Phillips, sorry. Not breaking down, playing quite well. And we'll talk about that penalty. You obviously saw it.
Yeah.
I still am convinced it was a penalty.
Oh yeah.
He's gone to touch the ball first, and I think it was Welbeck. I think Welbeck went to touch the ball first, and Robertson come very accidentally and swung and kicked him. The fact of the matter is he kicked him.
Welbeck made minimal contact, but his foot was there, and there was contact with the foot. If you contact the foot before the ball, it's a penalty. And the way the rules are now, even if you touch him, it's a penalty. Like there was a touch. I don't really think it was enough force to give a yellow card, for example. But there was contact, and if there's contact, there's a penalty. It's a free kick or a penalty in this case. I don't
Yeah,
have any. I don't have any dispute about the penalty at all.
yeah,
Whether
and I
it's
don't
fair in the balance
understand
of the game is the result was another question. But in terms of was that incident a penalty and it should have been given? Yeah, absolutely.
this exact thing. This exact thing happened to Liverpool, um, West Ham. This exact thing happened to Liverpool against West Ham. Salah got the ball. He got stamped on the foot. He fell. I think it was a soft penalty, but it was a penalty.
Hmm.
So I'm not trying to say Liverpool fans are crying over this. Yeah, they probably are. I don't want to go from that fucking trolling perspective. But the fact of the matter, there's a precedent for this, not just in the Premier League, but in your own game, in your own
You
team.
can't. You can every penalty decision that's ever been given before the beginning of this season needs to be thrown out the window because none of that logic applies. You have to look at the
Yep.
decisions this season for
Yeah,
any sort of penalty. And it sounds crap, but they changed the rules, and these are what the rules are. And yeah,
absolutely.
it's a soft penalty, but it's a soft penalty.
Yeah.
You put emphasis
Uh,
on softer penalty, but it was given.
yeah, exactly. Overall, this puts Liverpool in a kind of shaky form. Not terrible. I just call it shaky. They're
Mm.
still second, if I'm not wrong, Sean. I'm right to
Yeah,
say that.
and it's
Just
funny
getting the table
how
up
if they nick
for
the
the
1-0
points.
win, they'd be top of the table and be going, "Oh, Liverpool, fantastic," But
Yeah.
they just
So, such
can't
is the
put the
nature
points
of
away.
such is the nature of this season, Sean.
Yeah,
So they're second right now. Reasonable form, 3 wins in the last 5. I I still I said they'd come third or fourth. I can't remember now. I feel like I said fourth. I still don't think they're going to win the league. I think they're just too many players short.
the fourth.
Um,
Just
I
saying.
said fourth. I think I said United third,
Yeah.
City second, and maybe City or United was the other one. I said Chelsea to win, which I'll take it right now because obviously United are going to win the league. But the game against Brighton, just now I'm questioning now. I don't think they lack character. I think these Liverpool players are some of the best we've ever seen as a unit in the Premier League, if not one of the top 3 ever. But I'm just questioning now: do they have the legs to kind of go win games the way they used to? I think the Everton game when Jordan Henderson scored in the 80 something or 90th minute, which wasn't offside. Just to be clear, I don't think it was offside. I think that from then on they've just kind of, and with the Van Dijk injury that game, the Thiago injury, there's a little bit of confidence lacking in that team to go and win games in the last minute.
Yeah. There's 3 things. One is
Okay.
they won a lot of games very late last year, and I think that was due to one physical conditioning. You spoke
Mm-hmm.
before the game, United game, that United's physical conditioning could help them come back from say 2-0 down.
I did say that. Yeah.
Did.
Yeah.
Second thing is the emotional high, the emotional low of getting 97 points and finishing second turned into a winning season where they won the league by 18 points. I think there was an emotional mental drive to reverse the curse, as we say in Australia, with the Socceroos. And then just that mental, that confidence side as well. If you're a Liverpool player, if you're Robert Firmino and you're looking around and it's one on the 80th minute, you see Salah one side, you see Mane one side, you see Ronaldo, you see Trent. You've got more confidence than at the moment when you look around. That belief from the results and from the personnel, it's not the same as it was last year. And that team, as we've spoken about many times, is defined by that resilience. And that's starting to just where in the midst of a COVID shortened season with back-to-back games, there's still those question marks. They're still having a good season. They're top of the Champions League. They're second in the league. It's just they're not playing at the same levels they were last season, and there's question marks over whether they can get back to that level or will they stay at this level.
Now, for me, and another thing, it's going to sound sour, but I really don't mean to. I think you know better than I'm. When it comes to this, I like to tease, but I'm not biased. I think I genuinely thought for the last 3 years, and I do think now with their best squad, they are the best team in the world.
Yep,
but
I agree.
To retain the league is no mean feat, man. I think United in the 90s and 2000s showed people thought like, oh, when you win it twice. Like that's just what United do, what Chelsea do. Where Chelsea retained it
once under Mourinho. Mourinho's first 2 years.
But they did, but they did.
Arsenal never did it.
Intimately win it with Ancelotti, and then with Conte, and then with
What do you mean?
I'm not thinking right now. As in, if Chelsea were not retaining it, they're doing their best in the alternate seasons to win it the next year. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like they did a lot of work and they won it back quite quickly if it wasn't to be repeated. But I'm just saying what I'm trying to say is the only teams to retain it, Chelsea once, Man City once, and United a bunch of 4 or 5 times have retained it. And if you count a triple as a retained, they've done it more. But my point is, COVID aside, muscle injuries aside, tackles aside, retaining a league is not easy, man. It is not easy. It's like defending your belt in a boxing and MMA.
I always point to the example of the Golden State Warriors. They had the 2 seasons where they were without Durant and they won in 15 and they lost in 16 with LeBron James in the block and all of that. And then when they got Durant and then won very comfortably, they were the best team in the league. And I still think they were the best going into that 5th final series against Toronto. But they had played 5 NBA finals in a row. And in that 5th series, everybody just broke down injured, you know? And like quite long-term injuries. Durant got injured, Thompson got injured, DeMarcus Cousins, like a whole bunch of guys just kept getting injured. And it was just from playing 5 final seasons in a row. Whereas LeBron, first season with the Lakers, didn't go too well, didn't make the playoffs for the first time in forever. Gets a break, has a spring in his step, and can come back and win the title, you know, as opposed to having all of those final series in a row. So that the ability to back up and back up and back up just physically, it's not so much a mental, I'm not referring to the mental challenge, because if you, at that level, if you want it, you want it. It's the physicality of having to back up day in, day out. And then also when you win, there is a bit of that, you're the marked team, you know?
Yeah.
There were people that hadn't seen Liverpool win in a long time. They were kind of happy, good for them. They won first time in 30 years. None of those people would be happy if Liverpool won this year. They're the marked team. They're the champions. They've earned the right to be the marked team.
Yeah, and another to that point of marked team, I was going to say that you're going to get, for example, a Burnley or a West Ham or Southampton going to, let's say, Liverpool one weekend and playing at 110%, and then they're going to they can't play that 2 weeks in a row. They're not the teams that could play that, and then they go to play City the next weekend. Now you're looking at City. Okay, I got Liverpool this weekend. I got City in 2 weekends, or next weekend, or next game. Who am I going to play the 110% against? You're going to think Liverpool, because we're not going to win the league, but we're going to go beat the people who go win the league. Sure, we sacrifice the next 2 games for it, but it's worth beating Liverpool. It's worth putting a fight against Liverpool. Brighton, like as we know, Brighton could go get smacked the next game. Wouldn't surprise us. Who are they playing next? Like I tell you now, like if they go get smacked against Southampton, who played United and are pissed off, and Brighton who played Liverpool and played their heart out, they could go get smacked, and it's at home as well. So that's one of the points there. Liverpool are going to be stretched the next few games. We're just kind of, before we get to the next game, just run through the fixtures. Wolves, Fulham, Spurs, Palace. This is until the New Year, so I'll just say it again. Sorry, until the 2nd. So you have Fulham, Spurs, Palace, West Brom, Newcastle, Southampton, Villa, Burnley, and then United on the 16th of Jan.
And they have 2 Champions League games as well.
And then they have Midtjylland and Midtjylland, yeah. And
Midtjylland, they could probably play the reserves and win that. But Ajax wins that game,
yeah. So, sorry, now I'll put Ajax there as well. I'll just talk about European English fixtures. So,
it's
a mixed bag there.
Like just in terms of the run that they've got,
Yeah, it's a mixed bag there, but Wolves will be tough, Spurs will be tough, Southampton will be tough. I don't think Villa's a 3rd round FA Cup, but I don't think at that stage, I think Villa will kind of flatten out their own curve. And then you got United on the 16th. So I said to my brother yesterday, he's a massive Liverpool fan. I told him that I think Liverpool's season, if it's going to unfold, it's going to unfold in the next few weeks. And I say that because of everything is just going to get far more intense than it already is in the next few weeks. And Liverpool has shown that they just physically can't handle what's going on thus far.
It's not a knock on the club. It's a knock on the situation.
No, it's not at all.
It's not the
As a human being.
Yeah.
You can pay me £500,000, £500,000 a week. You can pay me £500 a week, Sham. I play for Liverpool, but I'm saying you pay me as much as you want. Your muscles are your muscles. There's no amount of ice baths, no amounts of Dankarab or Arnica or whatever that could, Sorry?
Tiger Balm. Anyone from Southeast Asia will know Tiger Balm.
Yeah. Or Mr. Miyagi, So I genuinely love the Liverpool play the best. Like when they play at their best, they are so nice to watch. And I have to, tip that to them. But I am very curious to see how they're going to play the next few weeks against teams who are playing, teams who got proper rest, teams who have full squads, teams who are going up against relegation as well. So, any closing thoughts on that game?
because sometimes when teams are winning, they just want to play. So if they keep winning, they might actually love it. But if you start, conceding late goals and losing at home to Atalanta, that can weigh you down. But at the same time, if they keep winning, they'll just be up for it and play like madmen, which is kind of what happened last year. So, it's difficult, but at the same time, the negative can turn into a positive if they are capable. So that's the question.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
to be honest, I tend to lean on your side of, they have to make sure the wheels don't fall off, frankly, and get through to January and be in some sort of shape if they want to win the league, be there in January, because if they fall down, they're not going to be coming back. Not in this.
You kind of get into your own head. You lose to Atlanta. It's like, shit, we lost Atlanta away, lost to Brighton home. These guys are professionals. They're consumer professionals who are paid to focus more than anything else. But it does play. Like, again, we're all human. I will say this, and this is, I reckon Van Dijk comes back in March, early March. I reckon he'll go through the best physical therapy possible. Fucking put some stem cells in that knee. I reckon he comes back early March.
Normally,
especially Liverpool. Especially Liverpool are in two situations. Sorry, Sham. Two situations. Liverpool's struggling to make top four, or if they're pushing for the league. If there's somewhere in the middle, I don't see Van Dijk coming back, or somewhere below fourth, which is very unlikely.
Yeah,
I reckon he comes back in March for the push.
If there's something to fight for and he's ready, But I think in Australia, there's in Australian football, there have been players who have had ACL type surgeries and come back at the end of the same season, 6 months, 7 months out, and come back with the new techniques and surgeries and that sort of thing. So it's possible.
He's already jogging.
But I think, football's such a different game. There's so much more lateral turning, and will he have that yard of pace that made him so? One of the things that made him so elite.
Yeah, who knows, right? I mean, if he comes back, maybe he's the same player. Anyway, we will move on to the Arsenal game. Arsenal, they're back to the consistent self.
Yeah.
Oh my days. Arsenal. 2-1 loss against Wolves. Pedro Neto, Podden scored, Gabriel scoring in between. I mean, what's going on, Sham? What is going on with Arsenal?
They're being found out. They don't have the depth of talent that everybody thinks that they have. We still think they've got these sort of pretty technical players, but the guys now are sort of poor substitutes for those pretty technical players. And people forget that Arsene Wenger's teams, I mean, this is an argument going back 20 years. Like, people talk about them having finesse and all that. They also had Patrick Vieira and Martin Keown and Ray Parlour, like guys that kick your ass.
Gilberto Silva.
There was a story about Patrick Vieira. So they were playing Wimbledon, and Vinnie Jones, the actor, right? So he was playing for Wimbledon. And Vinnie Jones is trying to psych himself up by banging his head on the wall, like just screaming, bang, bang, bang his head. And Patrick Vieira turns around to Martin Keown and he goes, "What is this?" And Martin Keown's he's geeing himself up for the game. And then Patrick goes, "Oh, okay, I'll kill him then." This is pretty Arsenal, People forget that side. They've lost both. They're not. When Aubameyang was around, they seem to have some identity that was built around him. Can you say what Arsenal's identity is at the moment? You can start to see it with United. You can see it with City. You can see it with Liverpool. What's Arsenal's identity? What team are they? You could say it's a personnel issue. I feel more it's like it's a leadership issue.
I think it is. I don't think Aubameyang and Bellerin are leaders. They're the captain and vice captain. I'm not sure in which order. I don't think they're leaders. I think Luis was a terrible buy last season. I mean, the upgrade to Luis
will always be remembered for that 7-1 loss to Germany. I know that he can win games and tournaments, but Thiago Silva was suspended for that World Cup game against Germany. And so David Luiz became the leader of that team, and they crumbled to Germany like a house of cards. That's what I always associate him with. He's a good enough player, but just he's not the leader. And Willian is not a leader either. They were brought in for leadership, but they've never been leaders.
And when Willian went over to Arsenal, Chelsea fan friends of mine were all saying it was like when Welbeck, they're not the same player, but it was a kind of similar principle. When Welbeck went over to Arsenal, everyone just went, "You paid for that?" So now Willian went over on a free, but you're still paying for him. You're right, man. Like there's a couple of players in Arsenal I do like. I do like Xhaka. I think he's quality. I think Tierney's quality. Tierney, I've said
He's
before, is like
very
a
underrated.
Robertson-esque
Yeah.
player. But Bernard Leno, the keeper, should be playing somewhere else. And perhaps definitely Saka. He has that Greenwood kind of generational talent, quality, and Pepe.
You're saying Saka, not Shaka.
Saka.
Yeah.
This
I'm
Saka here.
Just clarifying.
Yeah. He and Pepe as well. But Pepe got a red card. He was suspended for this game, and unfortunately, he just doesn't feature under.
There's talk of him being shipped out.
That's quick, isn't it?
Mm.
I don't know what's they just look blunt. They just look out of ideas. They look uninspired.
Yeah.
I think this could turn out to be a Carlos Queiroz situation where he's gone out to let's go manage Real Madrid for a season and realize no, I'm better as a number two. That's what Arteta might be, man. He might be the best number two in the world. That's something I was thinking about with the weekend, and I thought some people just got like Philip Seymour Hoffman. Nah, you're a supporting actor, my man. You know, you're just never going to be.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The character actor. Yeah.
Yeah, the character actor, but you're always going to be a supporting actor. Martin Lawrence, for that matter, you know, classy, athletic, and a supporting actor. So, they have reasonably good players, a couple of very good players. Just two, not enough for Wolves, who I was going to kind of see. I didn't watch this game, to be honest. I watched the highlights, but they looked like they played off the park, man.
Wolves were in charge of that game for most of it. Arsenal had a crack at the end of the game. They didn't really make any great, particularly memorable chances.
Yeah.
But Wolves, I wouldn't say they dominated the game, but it was more on their terms than it was Arsenal.
Yeah. I don't think there's much else to say about this.
You look there, four of the top five players in the game were Wolves players. That probably sums it up.
Yeah, we'll just kind of.
The rating there you got on the right side.
Yeah, yep. That's what I wanted to see. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, Podence played incredibly. Traore, who's kind of back to his best, if you ask me. He had a contract issue, which is why he sat on the bench for about 4 or 5 games. He just wasn't signing a contract. So, yeah, he's back to it. They're a good team, man. Wolves, like Leicester, they're now part of that top 8 team, excuse me. Should be pushing for Europe this season. Should push for top 4. Will they get it? I don't think so, but they will get Europe, I think. I think that's a reasonable expectation of them. Should we move on to the last game? We want to kind of brush over the rest of the game.
I did want to touch on the injury, the head clash.
Yes, of course.
One thing that disturbed me was that because Jimenez is jumping and Luis comes across him. There's a picture of Luis. Now, it could have just been the angle, but it looked like Luis had his hand right here in Jimenez's mouth, like that. And then it clashed heads. There's a picture that I saw where he's sort of grabbing at the mouth right before, like as he's coming and he's within reach, obviously. That was a bit disturbing to me because it was almost as if Luis, it shows that Luis maybe didn't quite have control of what he was doing, maybe the eye on the ball or just charged straight without sort of thinking too much. I don't know. He has those moments sometimes, Luis, but they never resulted in an injury like that. It's a horrific injury, and you hope both of them are okay.
Can you see this, Sean?
Yeah, that picture. That picture is the one I'm referring to.
Yeah, the
right hand there.
I actually, before you continue, I actually was really trying to find a video of that angle, but I couldn't find one. It looks like his hand is in his mouth almost, and he's looking. So David Luiz looks.
Kind of implies, whether it's intentional or unintentional, that he was being lined up. You know what I mean? Like Luiz might have thought, I'm going to hit the ball here without realizing there's a guy there. Because when things happen that quick, you can't think. Or he has lined him up, which is unlikely. But the way Jimenez, has been injured and quite badly, and you would think he's going to be out for a while. It's horrific.
So,
I mean, this happen in football, but there can be head injuries can be career changing. Petr Cech had a career changing head injury. He was invincible before that, and he was never quite the same after that injury, having to play in that skull cap and all that sort of thing.
So I did watch the extended highlights, and I did see David Luiz was, it said here Troy Deeney was kind of talking about it as well, but David Luiz did look a bit kind of off for the rest of the game. And just on that point of head injuries, just as a kind of larger point. Sorry, you go on first.
They subbed him at half.
Yeah, they did. But just on a larger point of head injuries, I think it's not talked about enough the way they did in NFL. It's at one stage. Now everyone knows about the NFL and head injuries. And there was the movie maybe Will Smith. Not talked about enough. Perhaps the prevalence is not as high as NFL. I don't think it would be. But Jimenez has a skull fracture. So it's confirmed. He's diagnosed with the skull fracture. And yeah, man, like you kind of, he'd be thinking he's 26 or 27, that kind of age, hitting his prime. Do I want to go back and play football? He probably has all the money he needs. All these questions him and his family be asking of him. I just want to see how old he is, whether he is actually a young fella, because he does look like a young fella.
He's known as like a Mexican talisman. So 29.
Yeah.
To be 30.
He's everything Chicharito wished he was. Tall, good looking, great control with the ball. Let's just kind of go through I don't see his stats, what sort of goals he's been good, reasonably good numbers for Wolves in the last 2 seasons. Yeah, it is a damn fucking shame, man.
Jota on the bench, so he had to be off these.
Yeah. It's a damn shame that he he had United lined up in the summer. He said himself, United and was it Madrid? Both were going in for him, and he said his agent talked to him about it. I don't think any clubs are going to touch that now. Unfortunately, they're products, man. They're products of the team rather than the assets. I mean, players. No one's going to sign a guy with a fractured skull on a top team, at least. Doesn't make any sense.
Like I said, it's career altering. So small. Absolutely. I didn't realize it was a fracture.
Yeah, it's a skull fracture. Yeah, but he'll recover. Like if it was you and me, he'd go back to his job in a few months. But he's not you and me. Man City game, just to finish up. Been a nice chat, actually. I've quite enjoyed this one. Huge win, Sham. Jesus Christ. Let me get the website up.
The Guardiola machine starting again, eh?
Yeah, you can feel it cranking. But sure, it's Burnley though, Sham, as well. Yeah. But the type of football was good. You see here, 2 assists for De Bryune.
And as well. Wasn't the last 2 goals was the first 2 goals that he got the assists.
Oh yeah, it was the first 2. Excuse me. Yeah, it was the first 2.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you get a hat trick in the 9-0 win. If you score the last 2 goals, it doesn't mean so much. You know what I mean? Like you had impact when it was needed. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I like De Bryune in the sense I think he's a very understated leader. He's very much like a messy type of captain, where it's more what he does than what he says. Because I think in the past he's kind of tried to take up that leadership role with Company, Silva, Aguero, Fernandinho around. They're just such big personalities that he always looked like a little child amongst them, even though he was one of the best among them. But I think he's kind of stepped into this more. I think he's pivoted into being more of a I'll show you what I can do rather than what I say.
And a lot of these personalities, like Silva's left, Company's left, Fernandinho will have much longer. This team, he should be looking at this team and saying, "This is my team," and we haven't seen enough of that from him this season. Yeah. This is not Raheem Sterling's team. This is De Bruyne's team.
No, where's Sterling? He's on the bench, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he started on the bench. But I don't know if he even played.
Yeah, he's on the bench there. He didn't play.
Yeah. But he needs to look at this team and decide that it is his team and that he's gonna dominate in that sense. Like Gerrard with Liverpool, like this team should have his name on it.
Absolutely.
Play to that level.
Huge win. And so just to sum up the league, we'll have a little look at the table. So like you said, Sean, the table is taking what we would call the shape of what it's meant to take. I think David Moyes very famously said that when he was managing United in 2013. He said, it was 2012 when he said it. Hold on. Yeah. When he said that the table will work itself out. We'll make the Champions League. He very famously said that a few months before being sacked. But the table is taking shape. A win for United, a win for City could just thrust them into the top 6, top 4. Liverpool play Wolves this weekend. That changes things. Arsenal play Spurs this weekend. That could change things as well. Arsenal can just turn up to play.
The derby, man. You take the form book and throw it out the window. Yeah,
absolutely. So, who was your player of the round? Fuck you. I'm going first. Cavani. Who was your player of the round?
Yeah, I mean, he was the most influential player in the round, wasn't he? He was The team was 2-0 down. He didn't have his shoes on. Then he came on and he scored. He set up the first goal. He played like a savvy veteran who knew exactly what he had to do, and he took the opportunities that he had. So you'd have to go with him. I don't think there's a particular player from a lot of the other games, to be honest, were not earth shattering like that particular game. That's definitely the big result of the week.
I'll give a bit of credit to Scott Parker. Scott Parker for getting the win over Leicester. I think that was very notable for the weekend.
Yeah, that was actually very notable.
Huge man. Yeah.
For them again.
Yeah.
So
insane to think that they've been on the relegation zone. Like the amount of flack we've thrown their way. Sheffield United, they're languishing.
Yeah,
with Burnley, West Brom.
And you'd think that 16 through to 19 are fighting for 2 spots. I'd hate to see Brighton go down. They deserve better, but they're not out of the
Isn't it mad to think that Sheffield have the worst start in Premier League history? Just a mad thought. They
when you play Football Manager and there's like one team at the bottom of the table every year that just like get like that. This looks like a Football Manager type scenario where there's just one team you just know you're going to beat them.
And you know what's madder, Sean? They've conceded as many goals as United.
Wow, only 4 goals in 10 games. Jeez.
Yeah, no, they're struggling, man. Absolutely struggling.
Well, you look at. I always tend to say, if you look at the table, if you average 2 points a game, you'll probably finish second. So the top 2 teams, they're 2.1 points a game. It shows that no one's really performing at a championship level. It shows that, like, you can say Tottenham and Chelsea and Liverpool up there, great. There's no one who's really starting to kick out yet. So we'll see if that happens. The teams, they're all still. It's still foreplay at the moment. Like they're still jostling and fighting for position.
You know what happens when foreplay takes too long?
That word. It changed the whole sentence, but yeah, you know what I mean.
No, don't hide your true feelings, Sean. When foreplay takes too long, you just kind of lose the mood as well, you know.
Waiting for United to join the party. Yeah.
If foreplay takes too long, you look to other sources for entertainment. La Liga, Serie A. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to us.
One thing I wanted to say. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, you're fine.
Yeah. The Crystal Palace Newcastle game. The Crystal Palace keeper.
2-0.
Guaita. So when I grew up as a keeper in the 90s, we were taught whenever you play a shot, you caught the ball. You know, we always taught you caught the ball and you bring it into your chest. From the time I'd started being an adult, and I was still playing, but you were taught to basically, I think it was to do with more power in the shots and new balls, and balls of varying height, but you were taught to carry the ball away and beat the ball away as opposed to catch it. Even with crosses, you beat the cross away rather than trying to catch it. That Guaita, there was a few shots, he just went, whoop, and just caught them really nicely, like not even like at his chest. He would sort of reach out and catch it and bring it in. Like it was good old. I just saw it and I thought that's good old fashioned goalkeeping. I was quite impressed.
This is the Palace keeper, is it?
The Palace keeper. Yeah, there's the Spanish guy, proxided hair, Guaita.
No, I can't say I've heard of him.
Go watch the highlights of the game. There's a few shots Newcastle taking. He just catches it so clean out of the air.
To be fair though, Sham, I'm going to just share this.
Who recognizes good goalkeeping. Oh, it was so nice to see.
You know, he reminds you of Canizares. He's an old-fashioned. Look at him. He's an old-fashioned keeper.
Yeah.
He's an old-fashioned. Sebastian Frey used to play for Parma. Yeah, look at him, Sham. He's an old-fashioned fella. Well, he played for Valencia as well. Look at him. He reeks of Oasis. I bet it's like, yeah, look, Fat Boy Slim, Oasis, you know, that kind of thing.
Could you imagine the Gallagher brothers giving him a shot in the band?
Oh yeah. Lovely. I have to go watch that. I can't say I watched that game myself. Anyway, any closing thoughts there? Sorry, I prematurely ended it before. I prematurely ended a lot of things. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. We are the 5 Year Pass Podcast. My name is Suri. This is Sham. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.